Welcome everybody to the Carlette Christmas Show. I'm Carlette Christmas, and this morning we have a conversation that is built for those people who are looking for purpose. You know how often you hear people that say, I don't know why I'm here. I don't know what my purpose is. I haven't found it yet. I'm seeking, but I just don't know. And then you have those people who they get to a certain level and they begin to sabotage themselves. Well, our guest this morning is an author, speaker, and a transformational thinker. And she's written a book entitled Living on Purpose. You gotta stay with us because it promises to be an incredible conversation. We're back after this. Welcome back, everybody, to the Carlette Christmas Show. Our guest this morning is Amy Elisa Wong. She is founder, speaker, executive leadership coach, and facilitator. She's also an author. For more than 20 years, she has devoted herself to the study and practice of transformation. She has written an incredible book, one that every person that is seeking purpose should read. It's called, in fact, Living on Purpose. Amy, good morning and welcome.
Oh, thank you so much. It's really a pleasure to be here today.
Absolutely. I talk a lot on our show about purpose, and I think that almost every single person that I've met on this journey, if they're not living, working, and walking in their purpose, they're seeking their purpose. And so you have spent much of your body of work really helping people find that purpose. And I found it really interesting because by trade, you're a mathematician. Tell us how those two things come together.
Yeah, I get this question a lot. Yeah, so um really, and as a small kid, I was so fascinated with the big questions and was really enamored with, you know, this idea that consciousness is everywhere, and I just was so passionate about the search for truth. And because I was also a pianist, I think my brain just moved in the direction of math. And so I became obsessed with math and studied that rigorously and got my degree at UC Berkeley in math. And, truly just because I just loved it. And, it's interesting because people think I'm amazing at arithmetic. And believe it or not, I'm actually not that great at arithmetic. Math really is it's the art and the science of really being able to grok large amounts of data and information and to find patterns and meaning, and then to be able to describe it in a very succinct, elegant, and irrefutable way. And
Mm-hmm,
so it's making sense of information.
mm-hmm,
And what I loved about that part of my life is I truly learned to become a master of logic and argument and be able to discern amongst lots of information and essentially say QED, here's what we're dealing with.
mm-hmm,
And so that that I didn't realize. I mean, essentially that lends itself perfectly to coaching. I mean, when I was young, did I
mm-hmm.
think I'd be up doing this? Like, no, but it was a perfect first step into this life that I live now.
And so I found that interesting because most people like yourself that are looking for the definitive answers in life, they need to know conclusively that 2 + 2 is 4.
Yeah.
There's no gray area around there. But then you wrote in August 2008,
Yeah.
your life changes and
Yeah.
you go from the definitive to in as a reader, from the definitive to the spiritual. Tell us about it.
Yeah. So I think because as a young child, very hungry for just spiritual practices and just again that search. And so there was always that part of me that was live. And leading up to that moment in August of 2008, I really was just doing the thing. I was doing the life thing that all of us do, following the formula, doing what I was told, doing it well, and really quite successful, but kind of always wondering, like, gosh, there's got to be more. Like, but I'm happy. My life's great on paper. And so it's that head scratchy thing that most people do. Like, yeah, why do I feel somewhat discontent, even though my life is lovely? And so it wasn't until I really had that wake up call that was that was truly prompted by the birth of my first child. And there's nothing like, you know, just giving birth to a human and knowing that this is now in you, this is your child for the rest of your life. I mean, it is so wildly reorienting, and you realize that, oh my gosh, my life isn't here around me anymore. It's actually around there. And so that prompted a massive breakthrough where I realized, oh my gosh, I'm not I'm not attending to all of me. And I wouldn't have been able to see that unless I had a slap in the face, like, a birth of a child. And I think a lot of us go through that. Like there's a massive life transition or life event that kind of causes us to wake up or to question. And so that wake up call made me realize, okay, there's a whole other part to me. And it was almost like I could conceptualize half of me was full, but the other half had yet to be discovered.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that wake up call, the epiphany was, Amy, you're going about this all wrong. It's not about figuring it out, it's about
Mm-hmm.
feeling it out. And in that epiphany, everything changed. Like I feel like I was cellularly reorganized, and that insight immediately had me navigating differently. And essentially, very quickly after that insight, I realized I have to follow what feels amazing, and I have to follow my inspiration, not what sounds like a good idea. And so what felt amazing very shortly after this big wake up call was transpersonal psychology. What is that? Oh, that sounds amazing. I have to go study that. And it was scary because, having been a trained mathematician, with a certain kind of life, it's like, okay, I'm going to go and do this. And so my husband's like, what are you going to go do with that? And I'm like, I don't know. I have
Mm-hmm.
no idea, but I have to go study it. And so it was that really balanced me out. And so search for truth in a whole different kind of way,
Mm-hmm.
non-linear,
Mm-hmm.
subjective, right? So,
Mm-hmm. And
yeah.
and for most people who are head led and people who are those folk that have to figure it out instead of
Yeah.
feeling it out, it doesn't make sense to leave the comfort and the stability of what you have
Oh, yeah.
to go into the unknown. So I know it feels like as you're reading the book, you can feel the spiritual transformation, if you will, happening. But how were you able to trust it?
You know, that's such a great question. It's here was the logic. So I had to apply logic. How funny is this? So I had to use my head in
Mm-hmm.
order to give myself
Mm-hmm.
permission to do this. So
Mm-hmm.
here was the logic. Okay. So taking a step back, I look at humankind and what seems pretty obvious, and I want to say a universal truth, and maybe it's not a truth, but it feels like a truth, that all of us humans want to feel good. We all essentially want to thrive. We don't want to be in survival mode. We genuinely want to thrive. We want to feel good. And so when I really think about it, it's we have desires, we have dreams, we have preferences, we set goals, we have visions, we have aspirations, we make vision boards, we try and do things, we want things. And so what became very clear to me was, wait, we want what we want, not for the thing. We want everything that we want because we think it's going to make us feel a certain way. Okay. So if it's not the thing that we really want and it's the feeling we really want, interesting. So what if I were to let that be my North Star
Mm.
instead of the thing? Because how many times have I chosen a thing that actually forsakes the feeling? We do this all the time, especially the hyper achievers out there. They're going to, they essentially want peace, they want freedom, they want all that love, amazing stuff, and they think by achieving so much it's going to get them there, but they keep it just the things that they choose and that they want actually contradict what it is that they want. So I thought, okay, so I've been doing this and it's clearly not mapping to a feeling I want, which is freedom and joy and okay. So then if what I want is a feeling and I'm really clear about that feeling and now I choose to follow the feeling, then
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have to and here's where the logic, I had to take a leap from this logic to trust that why wouldn't it lead me in the right direction? Why wouldn't it be the path of least resistance to the path of most abundance? And maybe that's true. And maybe I just can't know that because I haven't experienced it, or I can't believe that because I haven't experienced it yet. So what do I risk by trying?
Mm.
Because at the end of the day, if I try it out, I'm going to get information and I'm going to know myself more and I'm going to get data. And whether it's exactly what I want or it's not what I want, it's going to contribute to my growth either way. So what do I risk? And so I did take a leap of faith and thought it's worth trying, because at the end of the day, if I go through this graduate degree and I decide I hate it, well, at least I'll have more information and a whole new network of people, and I will
Mm-hmm.
probably have learned a lot of other things on the path of doing this. And it was interesting because in kind of taking that, using that logic to take that leap, it wasn't only truly the path of least resistance to the path of most abundance, but it set forth and really solidified this way of navigating of, yeah, I'm only going to follow my inspiration
Mm.
even if it doesn't make sense, because now I have enough data to tell me this works. And the joy in this is that there's a lot of delight because you think it's going to turn out a certain way when in fact it's actually better. And so that's the magic about life, you know. And we all have this fallacy that I'm going to plan it out and here's my thing and I'm going to do that. And here's in 5 years, that's what's going to be true. And, you know, and for all of us, we look back at 5 years and we're like, wait, did we really think we were going to be here 5 years ago? No. And so it really, to do this, you realize there's just so much more delight to be experienced, but it took me having to try it out and then prove to myself. And so I've done it enough to say, I think this is a truth, but I offer it as a practice for others. And that's what I describe in the book.
When the book came across our desk, it was apropos to what we do, living on purpose. And before we went to break, we were talking about feeling it out versus figuring it out. And I wrote that down a lot because I do believe in being spirit-led, hence not figuring it out, but moved by, and for me, I'm a Christian, so moved by the Spirit of God. But then there's also this part of us that needs to know how a thing will happen, how it's going to unfold. Hence, we're figuring it out. And I was telling you during the break, I say to people on radio all the time, it's Monday morning. I call it Momentum Monday, but people don't feel like going to work. And so if you're moved by every feeling, you could get caught up because feelings do change. So how do you speak to that?
So good. Well, first I would say, you know, our what really helps us move through life in a purposeful, rather joyful, but more so purposeful and meaningful way is to always be clear about what it is that you want to feel versus be at the whims of what I currently feel. Because, you know, the human mind, it's just miraculous and mysterious to me, all aspects of how we our existence here. But, you know, just because of who we are as humans, we interface with the stuff of life. And then the stuff of life is going to make us feel certain ways. And it's typically because we have ideas of how things should be.
Mm-hmm.
And then we resist reality. And then by doing so, we're negative. And if we're negative, then and so we get all scratchy. And so that's going to get in our way of, of momentum, just as you had said. And so, you know, just always kind of being clear about what is it that I want to feel. You know, I want to feel spacious. I want to feel peace. I want to feel purposeful. I want to feel motivated. I want to feel. So just having that somewhere in your perceptual horizon, not that it's like a full on focal point, but somewhere in your perceptual horizon is important, because, you know, that really is the first step to kind of sifting through what's going on in your current reality. And so then I would say, then the work is to follow the feeling, which is you want to feel it out. Now, what is feeling it out? It's not always reaching for what feels good. And so I make a big distinction between what is life-giving and what is life diminishing. And I use the principles of expansion and contraction. And I do that because that maps against how the universe is expanding and contracting and expanding. So it's growing by virtue of expansion, but it needs contraction in order to do that expansion. And so if that is a principle that here is in existence, then why wouldn't that be true for us? Now, as humans, we are going to experience contraction because that's how we grow. We're going to have the down, and we're going to have the hard, and we're going to have the painful. And so there's nothing wrong with that. But if we want to truly feel out our path to the path of least resistance to the path of most abundance, we want to feel for the things that are expansive. Now, what does that mean? It means when you think about it, you go, oh, there's almost like a little bit of relief in there. And it's kind of heart-based, it's in your chest, and it feels kind of like there's an expansion there versus the right, which we can all do. And it's, and it's not that that's bad, but sometimes that feeling of contraction, it'll be that thought where, oh, I could do this, but and that's usually a figuring it out, that, and I get it, and I could do that, and it feels constricted. So it's really feeling out for the difference between those two things, and then reaching for the thing that gives you relief, like genuine, honest relief, not resigned relief, but like, oh, okay, yeah, this is on the path to what I want to feel.
And so later in the book, you wrote, I was not who I thought I was. I thought that was so profound. Talk about that.
Yeah. Well, so much to say there. When I, early in life, I thought that my joy came from succeeding and achieving and doing the things and doing it right, and essentially follow what I call the formula we're all taught, which is go to school, get good grades so you can get into a good college, so that you can get a good job, so you could make lots of money, and then so that you will be happy. And so, we get caught up in this idea that it's about the achievements and the thing and the status and the title and all the stuff you got to check off the list. And I was doing that really well. I was, and I thought I was actually quite happy with it because I was doing so well at that game. But again, there was always that, I think there's more. I don't know. Why am I not totally happy? And so everything I thought I was, those titles, those accomplishments, those things that I thought made me happy. I realized the moment I woke up and, wait, no, it's not about figuring it out. It's about feeling it out. What do I want to feel? Wait, this is what's important. That's when the moment I shifted into feeling it out and followed my inspiration, then I found myself. And I found myself not as a thing or an accomplishment or an idea. I found myself as an essence that I am here I get it. I am here to raise the vibration of consciousness. Oh my gosh, I get it. I am here as the essence of empowerment and possibility and love. I am here as a spiritual being reaching to humanity versus being a human being reaching for spirituality. And that was the flip that happened. And so I thought I knew who I was, but everything I thought that was not it. But here's the cool thing. If I hadn't gone through this, I don't think I would have found that. And so this was the necessary contrast that helped me define who I'm not, so I can claim who I am.
Ooh, boy, that's a lot to unpack. I found out who I was not so I could claim who I am.
Yeah.
What was that moment like when you find out this is not who I really am? This is what I was doing because society, what was ingrained in me, said I should, but I'm bigger than that. I'm more than
bigger than that. Yes. I'll tell you, it's a multi-layer, multi-dimensional answer. In the epiphany moment where there was this massive aha, it was one of the most exhilarating and at the same time normal and peaceful, very present kind of, And so it wasn't like, and all of a sudden,
right.
It was kind of because like the insight was so big, there was so much momentum in a new direction that it was overwhelmingly exciting. And I was really excited by that. So that's where my focus was, okay, this is how I'm going to operate. I'm excited for this. I can't wait to see what happens. Like this is, and so there was so much relief. But the other dimension to this answer is it has been an unfolding. As I've continued to practice over the past 10 plus years, it's been an unfolding of, oh, this is who I am. And so at the same time, it was a massive wake-up call, and at the same time, it's a continual process. And so it feels very profound and very nourishing and very almost obvious at the same time.
You made it sound so beautiful. And if you read the book, your life was ideal. It looks ideal. You married a great guy. You had your first baby. You got a good job. Everything is going well for you. But it indeed takes faith to step out and follow this feeling, or what believers would say, follow the Holy Ghost, or follow your intuition, or whatever you call it. Something told me. It takes great faith to do that. And that's why most people never really find their true calling. What do you say to people about that?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I have a pretty strong belief that it's because of this that we're talking about right here, that people are actually are leaning into the fear more and relying on the familiar, even if it is painful. I firmly believe that that's why there's just so much dysfunction in the world. And there's a lot of pain that we are all experiencing. And I think it's just because there's that fear of opening your eyes. There's that fear of, what could be possible beyond what it is that I know. And, there are a couple things I want to say about this. And it's, I think with faith, it is a choice. That's what faith is. It's a choice. And to make that choice takes a lot of, you gotta get a build up there to be like, okay, there's a reason I'm going to want to make this choice. And we have to get to a point where we're either uncomfortable enough, or we've had enough, or we just realize we just can't do this the same way that we're doing this. Like we have to get to a point where we're somewhat intolerant of what's true. And I think until we can get to that place of being intolerant of what's been true, we're just going to rely on what's familiar, even if it's miserable, even if it's painful. And so what does it take to get to that point of intolerance? I think it takes curiosity. I think it takes recognizing that there could be more, recognizing that it could be better, recognizing that there might be more of self, recognizing that, maybe there is another way that could be easier. And so curiosity, I think, is a huge component. And I think in this day and age, particularly, we're so good at distracting ourselves, and we're so good at numbing ourselves. And we've got so many ways and so many outlets for stimulus that it's really kind of eating away at that opening for curiosity. And so, but then again, we could get so sick of this that this could be the thing that, and it's, I'm waving my phone right now, right? Any sort of technology. But I think that's a big part of it. And
where was your faith quotient, you think,
Yeah.
when you started on this journey?
Well, I think because I'd always been really young. I started meditating in 5th grade. I was so fascinated by all things spirituality. I studied lots of different Eastern wisdom traditions, and I went to a all-girls Catholic school, even though I wasn't Catholic. So I was just very, I would say I had a fair amount. It wasn't instinctive to me to lean into that faith and to lean into that trust. It was a big leap, but I wasn't scared. Let's put it that way. I wasn't scared because of all of my self-study leading up to it. I have this firm belief that it's much better on the other side. So I just have to do it. I just have to do it. Yeah.
But it takes a lot of courage to do that. It takes a lot of courage to to be able to trust the unknown. I love the fact that you had the support of your husband, because it takes a lot of courage to step out of the certainty of what
Yeah.
your lives are, your career and your earnings and your stability, to
Yeah.
move into the unknown. And there was a place, I think, somewhere where it was written, if nothing changes, nothing changes.
Mm-hmm.
If nothing changes, nothing changes. And I think when you're living on purpose, there has to be a series of changing from the familiar to the unfamiliar. And I just wonder, what that conversation was like with your husband.
So it was a little scary because, you know, both my husband and I, we were kind of on that same track. That's why we got married, and we both value the same things. We're both hard workers. We both have plans. And so I really had to go out on a limb and say, hey, I really want to do this, and I think it's going to pan out. And there was a part of me that was a little scared to get the judgment. It's like, well, it's either going to be judgment or it's going to be support. And so what's the worst that can happen? Because at the end of the day, I'm going to do it anyway. And so, and by the way, you know what? I know he loves me and I love him. And you know what? I know that he supports me and he trusts my judgment. And I know because I trust his judgment. And so, at the end of the day, I think it's going to be fine.
There was a place in the book where you wrote, I give up. And for me, that was really, really profound, because we really look at giving up as giving up, but it's really more than that, isn't it?
It is so much more than that, because we can say giving up is kind of giving up on ourselves or failing. And, and I don't look at it that way. And in this case, it definitely wasn't that. It was, I surrender. I'm going to stop being in control, trying to think that I know how this works, that I can solve this on my own because I can't. I've been trying, it's not working. So you show me the way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I'm done. I'm done trying to play the almighty here. Yeah, I give up.
Do you remember when you got there, Amy, at what point where you just understood that because we're human beings, we're always almost in a posture of trying to figure it out. Like, for instance, we're trying to figure out, okay, how is this thing going to happen? I know the universe, the divine, has shown me that this will happen, because scripture says that God shows us the end from the beginning. I believe that this thing is going to happen, but in our brains, there's a figuring, okay, it could happen this way, or if I do this, it'll happen this way. But so when did you get to that point where you just said, you know what, Uncle, I give, I surrender?
Yeah. You know what? And it ties back to that. What's the catalyst for taking that leap of faith? And it's, I've hit the point of tolerating this confusion, this feeling, this churning in me that I can't make sense of. I'm done. I'm done. I can't do that. I've been trying to figure out how to get through this, but I can't. And so I hit that point of, nope, don't want to. I don't want to do this. I don't want to feel this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore, and I can't do it on my own.
Wow. And so there's a reckoning point where you talk about really, and excuse the term for anybody who would be offended by this, but how there's so much shit that happens that's thrown at us. But instead of looking at it as shit, we have to look at it as manure, as fertilizer.
That's right.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I I share in my book a pretty raw personal story of of hardship and pain, and and it's something that was so intense and so hard that, it took me years to actually get to a point where I was able to talk about it openly, because I was ashamed. And because if it wasn't for all of that turmoil and all of that pain and the suffering and the darkness, I know without a shadow of a doubt, I would not be who I am today. I would not be living my purpose. I would not be who I am. And then, so I really was start wrestle with this, like, wait a minute, hold on. Every single thing in my life that was shitty, I actually at this point, look back and go, actually, that was really fabulously integral to today. And so, hold on. Okay, Amy, this makes sense, because look at the nature of existence. Everything's born out of duality. You cannot have up without down. You cannot have birth without death. You cannot have joy without sadness. So our growth doesn't just happen in the light. You don't just grow in the light. You grow in the dark. And so, whoa. So all of these things that I can look back on and now see purpose in it. Why wait for my future self to tell me how my current crap turns out? Wait a minute, I don't need to do that. I can be in a crap, shitty moment, and instead of anguishing and pushing against it, I can have perspective, recognizing that at some point my future self is going to look back at this with purpose. So, Amy, why not start doing that now? It's funny. I feel so blessed, because I have had thousands and thousands of coaching conversations, and it wasn't in these, like, all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I'm sitting on a mountain and, like, I have these insights. Much of what this book has become has been the result of these thousands of conversations I've had with folks. And so, I think it's been this organic development over a series of conversations with many amazing clients, and I'll tell you, I really do feel so blessed, because I live a miracle every day with the conversations I get to have. And when I enter into session, there is so much flow, and there is just stuff that comes, and it is tremendous. And so things will come through that I'm like, whoa, where'd that come from? That was amazing. And so I would say it's been over many, many conversations that these themes really started to crystallize. I was like, okay, that's it. There are two ways in which we grow. We grow by accident, or we grow on purpose. We all want to talk about how we grow on purpose, but there's a whole category of growing by accident. And you know what? Both are amazing. Why push this one away? Why push the by accident away? So, yeah.
Wow. Amy, you're a light in the world. And I think that if people really take the time to not just hurry through the book, because I didn't hurry through it, and there's so many incredible nuggets and so many themes and real life experiences in the book that we can all relate to, that people need to read. Living on Purpose. Before we've got to end this conversation, tell people how they can connect with the book and your resources and how they can follow you.
Oh, absolutely. So the book, Living on Purpose, subtitle, 5 Deliberate Choices to Realize Fulfillment and Joy. It is really anywhere books are sold. I think the easiest is to just get it on Amazon, and I've got an audiobook that I narrate, which is super cool. And you can get it off my website. And so my website is alwaysonpurpose.com.
Indeed. Amy, it has been a very insightful conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Carlette Christmas Show. Of course, I'm Carlette Christmas, and I'd like to thank you for maybe spending the very first part of your morning with us right here on the Carlette Christmas Show. We'd also like to invite you to follow us on our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can also go to our YouTube channel. When you get there, if you like the content, don't hesitate to like it, subscribe to it, and then share it with your tribe. The reason why we do it every single morning is simple. We love you. God loves us all even more than that. He built us for a purpose, and we're all seeking it. Mahatma Gandhi said it, and I say it every single day. we can all be the change that we want to see, but it does start with you and with me. For the entire crew and team of the Carlette Christmas Show, be safe, be well, and God willing, we'll see you right back here next time.